Hi guys, welcome back to Garage Gossip. My name is Mara, and in today's episode we have some things that I need to discuss, like I do every episode, because that's the whole that's the whole point of this freaking podcast. Anyway, um I will obviously talk about Saudi Arabia a bit, but there's two big things that I definitely need to talk about today because I already wanted to talk about them last week, but I totally forgot because I was sick. Um, Saying that, I'm still a teeny tiny bit sick. My mom and I think it was COVID. COVID. Hey, fourth time having COVID, and I'm still going strong. So yeah, I'm still a bit sick. So if I'm short of breath, my excuse is for that. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's it. Let's just get straight to the episode, really. Alrighty, so like I said, we will talk about Saudi Arabia, but the first two big things that I need to talk about this episode are Driver of the Day and the broadcast selection of what they show. Because I've noticed some things there, and I need to talk about it. So let's start with Driver of the Day, just purely because that is the first thing that is on my notes here. I have a feeling this season, Driver of the Day is just being randomly selected. Because I'm taking my handy-dandy journal here because obviously I write down the driver of the day for every race. In Australia, it was Lando Norris, which I could get behind. In China, and this is one that I'm a bit confused by, it was Kimi Antonelli. In Japan, it was Yuki Tsunoda. Also a bit weird, but I kind of get it. In Bahrain, it was Lewis Hamilton. And then in Saudi Arabia, it was Max Verstappen. It is mainly China and Bahrain that just got me so confused on why those two drivers, and I'm not saying they're bad drivers, I'm just saying that those two drivers weren't the most noticeable drivers on the grid that certain day. Like, let's take a look at Bahrain because that Grand Prix is like the most recent one imprinted in my brain. Lewis Hamilton won driver of the day there, right? I remember voting for Esteban Ocon, but I know I was between Oliver Behrman and Esteban Ocon. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton. He started the Grand Prix in 9th place and he finished in 5th. But he didn't really do much, if I remember correctly. But then we look at, for example, the person I voted for, which was Esteban Ocon. He started in P14 and finished in P8, but he had to overtake a lot of freaking people. Same with Ollie Behrman. He started in 20th and he finished P10. And I'm just like, why then? Why then did Lewis Hamilton win Driver of the Day? I don't know if anybody else is asking these questions, but I just have a feeling that Driver of the Day this season is just so random. Like, it's not. People are basically just voting for who their favorite driver is. That's how I feel. Like, if you take a look at China, Kimi Antonelli won there. Kimi started the Grand Prix in 7th and he finished in 8th. Not taking into account the disqualification of Leclerc, Hamilton, and Gasly, because that is not. I mean, it's in my journal, but just not in the classification. So if we take those in account, Antonelli would be in P6. That's only one position up. And like, I don't know if anybody else remembers his radio after the race when Bono told him, "Yeah, you also won driver of the day," and Kimi was like, "Okay, great, but like, for what? For what?" It's just, if even Kimi is confused, like, aren't we supposed to be confused as well? Like, I don't know. In Australia, it made sense to pick Lando Norris, right? In Japan, I kind of get why they went for Yuki Tsunoda. I mean, why we, because we are the people that choose. Why we went for Yuki Tsunoda, I kind of get that because it was his first race with Red Bull. It was his home Grand Prix. You know, I get that. Still not my choice because I remember not going for Yuki here. I think I voted for Isaac Hedger that day. I think. And then in Saudi Arabia, it was Max Verstappen, which I also get, but it was also not my pick because I voted for Lando Norris, who finished in P4 and started in P10. like, they're just not making much sense, the picks this season. And I don't know what it is. I feel like we just need to remember the definition of driver of the day. And for me, the driver of the day is the person that impressed me the most that day, that had an amazing an amazing amount of laps in the Grand Prix. For example, Ollie Behrman in Bahrain went from P20 up to P10. Like, why did he not win driver of the day that day? Like, it's just not making much sense to me. Like, we need to rethink who we pick as driver of the day. Like, I really need people to stop making rational decisions here and just say, you know what, I love Lewis. Like, he is my favorite driver, but I'm not gonna pick him for driver of the day because that other driver had a better performance today. Like, you get what I mean? Like, it's just, yeah, especially like Lewis Hamilton in Bahrain, that one really stood out to me. Like, I saw that, I remember that so well. I saw it on the broadcast, that Lewis Hamilton, because I'm always very excited to see who will be driver of the day. I think it's always very fun to see that. And so they showed that it was Lewis. And I remembered screaming at my screen, what the fuck? Like, why did y'all choose Lewis? Like, why? Like, what's the reason? I just remember it, and I'm just like, what actually is the reason that Lewis Hamilton won driver of the day in Bahrain? It's not that his race was that memorable, I think. Like, I don't really remember the things Lewis did. I remember, the fight of Pierre Gasly with Max Verstappen, even though it wasn't broadcasted. I remember the fight of Ollie Behrman with Antonelli the last few laps. Like, that was broadcasted. But Lewis, don't know what he did in that race. Like, you get what I mean? Yeah, that's my rant on driver of the day. Like, we need to start thinking more about who we pick as our driver of the day. Yeah, that's that. Then, something that not we, but the people behind the broadcasts. And I don't know how this is on Sky Sports. I don't know how this is on Viaplay. I don't know. I just know how it is on F1 TV because that is where I watch Formula One and all the other feeder series. But mainly Formula One has this problem, I would say. And I saw Matt and Tommy from the P1 podcast also talk about this. And they, like, I noticed it as well. And then I saw them talking about it, and I was like, I really should talk about it as well on my podcast. So big shout out to them. But the selection of what is shown on the broadcast is questionable the last few races, and especially in Bahrain. Especially in Bahrain, and the main thing here, the main thing on which I noticed this is Oscar Piastri. He won the race in Bahrain, right? And we didn't see him during the race a lot, which I was like, okay, fair enough. Like in 2023, we also, was it 2023? Yeah, in 2023, we also didn't see a lot of Max when he was winning all those races. We saw his last lap, we saw him cross the finish line, but that's it. Basically, we saw his first few laps, we saw his last lap. That's basically it, right? So I was like, fair enough, right? Fair enough. But then came the moment that Oscar was crossing the finish line. And they didn't switch from like the big screen, they didn't switch from the fight between Russell and Norris to Oscar crossing the finish line. No, they didn't. They just continued to show the fight between Russell and Norris, which I get. I get that. Like, it was a very intense fight at that point, which, I mean, it was for P2. that's a very high position. But still, I think it's kind of disrespectful that they went and continued to show the fight between Lando and George on the big screen. And then on the left-hand side, in just the tiniest frame that you can imagine, they showed Oscar crossing the finish line. And I'm just like, that is kind of disrespectful, right? And then again with the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, which I mean, I watched the full Grand Prix, but I was at the same time watching something else. So it was a bit like I was going between the two. But whenever I was actually watching the Grand Prix, I saw stuff that I was like, why are you showing this and not that? You get what I mean? And I was just like, something something needs to be changed here, right? Because this cannot continue for the whole entire season. I think it's very, especially Bahrain, I think it's kind of disrespectful to not show Oscar Piastri winning the actual race. Like, why is it way more important to show the fight between Russell and Norris while we actually already knew that Russell would stay in front of Lando? Like, the lap was just too short for Lando to get past Russell, so we kind of knew. But, like, yeah, in 2023 we can always switch, like whenever, even if there was a big fight going on in like the lower positions, we can always switch back to Max Verstappen crossing the finish line in first place. Always did that, every race. But then when Oscar Piastri is the one winning, we don't do it. That is so frustrating. I don't know why it frustrates me this much, but I think that's so disrespectful, and I'm really hoping that the F1 TV team does something about this the next few races, because yeah, I don't really like it, you know. It's kind of disrespectful. Anyway, moving on to Saudi Arabia, because we do have to talk about it. We do have to talk about it. And I'm not gonna talk about Miami just yet. I feel like that is, you know, it's a long race week, so it doesn't really matter if I talk about it today or next week. I'll just do it next week, because otherwise I don't have anything to talk about next week. So we'll do that next week. But we're gonna talk about Saudi Arabia. Like I said, I didn't fully watch. Like I watched the Grand Prix, but I was also in the meantime watching something else. Like I said, so like I watched it with half my concentration. So yeah, let's talk about it. The free practices I didn't watch because on Friday I was in Amsterdam the whole day to go to the F1 exhibition, which, if you haven't been there yet, it is open till the end of July, I think. Really highly recommend going. I went on the second day that it was open to public, and it was actually, the crowd was not, there were not that many. I mean, there were lots of people, but I could still see everything pretty good. And I took a lot of photos, which I think if you go there, you should take a lot of photos because it's so fun to just scroll through them. I really enjoyed it. So if you have the chance to go, really, really recommend going. It's definitely worth the money, because I also thought like, it is kind of expensive, but it was definitely worth the money. There was one thing that I didn't particularly like, and I'm just like, no, I'm like usually also not a big fan of this. That was that at the entrance of the exhibition, you get a device with that you get like hold up to your ear to listen to the audio of the clips that are playing at certain points. I wasn't really a big fan of that, because you get a lot of, like, you get a group of people just gathered before the screen. And there was one point where they showed little clips of the drivers as young kids, and below that was a little like trivia quiz of like all the pictures of the drivers, and you had to say like which driver is who, which driver is who. And yeah, I couldn't see it because I wanted to do the trivia quiz. There were so many people gathered before the screen that I just didn't really do the trivia quiz. But yeah, there was a second. I think me, my dad, and my brother, we watched 2 videos, and then we just stopped watching the videos because we also noticed that a lot of the videos that are playing are parts from Drive to Survive, of other documentaries made about Formula One. So we didn't really feel the need to watch those because we could just watch it at home as well. And like most of the clips that are picked from Drive to Survive, I've already seen, obviously, because I'm huge. Like, I really like watching Drive to Survive. So yeah, but that was the only thing that I didn't really like. Other than that, it was really fun. It was really impressive to see how big the cars are, because I've never been to a Formula One race, so I don't actually know how big the cars are. Like on my screen, they look big, but not ginormous, right? And then I saw that. I think it was the RB19, I think, that stood there of Max Verstappen, and that car is freaking big. Like, it's ginormous big. And that was like the point that I really learned, like, wow, these cars are not just big, they're ginormous big. You know what I mean? So yeah, free practices did not watch. Then on Saturday we had the third free practice. I did not watch. We had the qualifying session, which I did watch that, but I don't remember much of it. I only remember El Bono being like not going through to Q3 with just 0.007 seconds, which, yeah, that had to hurt. Other than, oh yeah, and Lando Norris crashing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that happened, right? I don't think we need to talk about it. I don't think we need to talk about it. Let's just go straight into the race. Even though I did not watch the full race, I still have some thoughts about it. I mean, I watched it, but not fully. You know what? You get what I mean. So we do have to talk about Max Verstappen's penalty. And I know, I shouldn't, but we have to, okay? The first thing that I was asking myself, because I watched the start and I couldn't fully see who was actually in front. So I asked myself, was the penalty that Max Verstappen got really deserved? And at first I was like, yes, it was. And then I was like, no, it wasn't. And then I stayed with my thought, like, no, it wasn't deserved. But then I went on the F1 website today, right before recording this podcast, because I needed to rewatch that start to like know what I was talking about, right? They have an entire article about it, written by Julian Palmer, on the incident and on the penalty of Max Verstappen. So if you want more in-depth an in-depth analysis of that penalty and why he got that penalty, definitely go to the F1 website and look up the article of Julian Palmer. It also includes a very great analysis in a video. I watched that video in particular. That gave me so much more insight on the whole incident and on the whole like penalty. Was it deserved? Was it not deserved? So now I can say yes, it was deserved. Oscar was clearly in front. Max obviously wasn't happy with it. Max is never happy when he gets a penalty. He always feels like he doesn't deserve it. This is Max's racing style. That's what Julian Palmer also said. Like, this is the style that Max Verstappen uses when racing. And I mean, it's not a great style, and we don't necessarily love it in here, but you know, it's his style and you can't really change anything about that. But while I was thinking about whether the penalty was deserved or not, I remembered F2, because F2 also raced, and they had that sprint race before the F1 qualifying session, so obviously also before the Grand Prix. And I know a lot of drivers. I mean, I think 2 or 3 drivers got a penalty for doing kind of exactly the same thing as Max Verstappen did. So I was like, I mean, if it's deserved in F2, then it's probably also deserved in F1, right? Like, isn't that how it works? So yeah, anyway, if you want a great analysis video on the exact penalty, go to the F1 website. That being said, we do have a new championship leader. It's Mr. Oscar Piastri. He currently has 99 points. In second, we have Lando Norris with 89 points. And then in third, we have Max Verstappen with 87 points. I just wanted to put that in here just so you'll know. You'll probably know. But yeah, the McLaren battle for the championship, it's real. It's freaking real. And I can now officially say that I'm scared. Okay, last time I was like, I'm not that scared. I'm freaking scared. Okay, I am scared. Because the friendship between Oscar and Lando is just so beautiful and so perfect, and I don't want that to suffer. I don't want that to go away. You know, we love Oscar and London together. So yeah, I'm scared. Anyway, um, I'm very good with predictions. Y'all know me on here. I'm a prediction machine. You know. So before the race, I had this gut feeling, you know, and I said to one of my nieces and my brother, I have a feeling Yuki will collide with someone. At first, I was like, maybe Lewis Hamilton, but then I was like, well, it could literally be anyone. I was right. I mean, yeah. I mean, I really thought it was gonna be Lewis Hamilton. I really did not think that he would collide with his one and only true friend Pierre Gasly. Did my heart break seeing that? Absolutely. Like, yeah, I don't know. That was something else. Like that crash, that collision between Yuki and Pierre, that was something freaking else. hmm hmm Yeah, that being said, I'm also very happy for my Williams boys. Double points for Williams. Great. I'm just rushing through this right now. Because the thing is, like I said, I just halfly watched the Grand Prix, and so I don't really have a lot of thoughts on it. Like, I watched the Grand Prix, but I didn't listen to the Grand Prix. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to try this theory, like, look at the Grand Prix without the sound. It's totally different, and there's a lot of insights that you don't get because you're just looking and not listening. So it was a bit difficult there. But yeah, you know, whatever. You know, this episode, it doesn't matter how long it is. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Alrighty. That's basically everything I had on Formula One. Yeah. I mean, I rushed through it a bit, but whatever. Moving on to the feature series because I love talking about feature series. Um, Formula 2, let's start with Formula 2 because I mentioned them as well before. They also raced in Saudi. Exciting race. Let me tell you all that. I once again only watched the sprint race. I don't know, but on Sunday I can never seem to catch the feature race. I'm always doing something. I'm always doing something. Um, so yeah, I watched. Did I watch Quali? I did not watch Quali. I know because it was on Friday and I was in Amsterdam on Friday. That's it. Um, so I only watched the sprint race, which let me tell y'all, it was an exciting sprint race. I don't know how many laps they did. Not that many. I think like 27 or something like that. Even maybe even less. Let me check that. I actually let me check that. 20 laps. The race was 20 laps. So it's not that much, right? For a full like race. It's not that much. It was exciting, like the exciting 20 laps. I was heartbroken because Luke Browning and Dino Bogdanovic did not score any points, but I was also absolutely fucking flabbergasted and surprised, and yeah, it was insane. I recorded my reaction after the Grand Prix because I was just so amazed. Um, I think I even posted it on my Instagram, being like the post, like I reposted the F2 post on my stories, and I said absolutely mega, something like that. Because we have a new record set in F2. So Arvid Lindblad, he already holds the record for youngest F3 race winner. He was born in 2007, and yeah, he holds the record for youngest F3 winner. He now also holds the record for youngest F2 winner, which, yeah, absolutely insane. Y'all know I love Arvid. I don't talk about Arvid as much as I do about my, my high-tech boys, but I really, really love Arvid, and I'm so happy that he got his first race win in F2. It's not it wasn't the way he wanted to win, because he basically just won because Richard Verschoor got a penalty and just dropped from 1st to 4th place. It was not the way he wanted to win, but it's still pretty amazing that he now holds the record for youngest ever F2 race winner. Yeah, and that being said, let's switch to F1 Academy. I'm not going to talk about their races because I'm going to be honest, I only watched the last race, and that was also just like not completely watching, so I'm just gonna skip that. I don't know when they race next, actually. I know F2 is racing in Imola next, if I'm correct. So for Formula 1, it's Miami next, and then we go to Imola. So F2 will go to Imola with F1, and I think F1 Academy is joining F1 in Miami. Yep, in Miami again for F1 Academy. But other very exciting F1 Academy news is that, and we already knew this, F1 Academy is kind of getting like a spin-off of Drive to Survive, right? We knew that, but we finally have a release date. And I'm so excited to say that it's the 28th of May, which is not, like, it's about a month away from now, which y'all know I will be watching that. The first once it's released, I will be watching that. I will be binge watching that because I'm so freaking excited. Like, I love F1 Academy, like supporting my girlies, you know, always and forever will be supporting the girlies. And I'm so excited that F1 Academy is finally getting more global like attention, because a lot of people know F1, and I feel like a lot of people also know F2 and also maybe F3, but F1 Academy is not that well known around the world. So I am so happy that there's finally going to be more people learning about the atmospheres of F1 Academy and what it takes for these girlies to be racing in that series, because it's not easy to get that. I think it's not easy. So yeah, I'm very excited. The title is going to be F1 The Academy, and like I said, it will be released on the 28th of May on Netflix. And yeah, I'm just so excited for that. I kind of wish if they did a premiere, I kind of wish to be invited to the premiere, but I'm not that well known to do that, to get an invite. sad life. Anyway, I also wish to be invited to a race, so if a team happens to see this, you know, you can always invite me. It doesn't really matter what team. Like, I just want to be at a race, you know. Whatever. The Lulu is a Salulu. Let's say it like that. Yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I will. I know I did. I will be back next week with a Wednesday episode again. Not a race weekend this week, so I hope you will enjoy something else to do this week. I highly recommend reading. Yeah, I asked that a few, like, I think last season on the podcast. But do y'all want like F1 book recommendations? Maybe I'll do that next week. But let me know if you do. And yeah, I that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. And you will, on YouTube, you will see me again next week. On Spotify, you will hear me next week. Bye!